afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our joint webinar that we have today. My name is Colin Wilson, and I'll be taking you through this fantastic webinar that's been put together by myself and also Mark Say from MKS Group. Just say hello, Mark.
Hey everyone, welcome to our joint webinar this afternoon. We've got a jam-packed full event. I encourage you to take notes, take as many notes as you can. There's going to be a lot of information, and there's some great information coming your way. So yeah, take as many notes as you possibly can.
We're very much pumped up about this webinar, and we're very grateful for the City of Moonee Valley, who has sponsored us as a partnership to host this webinar. And I'm now going to get into it, and hopefully we can keep you motivated for the next hour and a half. Not hopefully, we'll keep you motivated. Okay, I'm going to go through some housekeeping in a minute. In today's webinar, you're going to discover the following. So the latest changes with JobKeeper, which Mark will go through. How to get your business back on track, something that I'm very passionate about. Mark's passionate about that as well, but I'm going to go through that. Then you'll learn about how to not to rely on the government initiatives that just may not be available in the future, and somehow during this pandemic that we're going through, as we come out of this, I guess stage 4 we're in, we've got to try and get our businesses back on track. You want to learn how to manage your finances, because I think that's really important, especially with this coming out of COVID-19. I'm going to talk about ripping the Band-Aid off for greater outcomes, because I think it's not about sitting back and waiting for things to happen. You've just got to start going for it. We'll talk to you about better ways to engage the staff for greater outcomes, and then Mark and I'll go through, let's help you deal with some of the, that mental toughness in running a business, because what we've both seen is just for information, KBA and MKS Group, we are a very, very solid partnership. We share a lot of clients together, and I'm very grateful for the connection that I've had with MKS Group for the last 10 years. It's been absolutely awesome. But during these difficult times, we've really teamed together with our clients and tried to help them get through this process that we've actually gone through. There's been some customers that have gone really well. Some are just going okay, and there's some other customers that have been really struggling. So we're here to support everyone. As you'll see, there's another upcoming webinar that I'm running on the 19th of October, which we'll talk to you about a bit later. So just a bit of housekeeping with this webinar. They're fantastic. All local businesses of the City of Moonee Valley, which I think is even better. And so everyone who's registered for this webinar will be able to receive a copy of the slide deck that we've gone through today, as well as a recording. I know definitely that we will be posting a copy of the webinar, a recording of the webinar up on our websites as well. Everyone will be in mute mode, so pretty much to get rid of that background noise. And lastly, what we've got is Mark and I are running this webinar, but he has team of 2 people behind this webinar supporting any questions that might come through in the chat box. If anyone else got any questions, which would be his partner, Michael Rizzoli, and Christian Sade, no doubt son of Mark Sade. And on my side, I have Alison Fletcher, who's one of our fantastic HR advisors, one of the gurus at KBA that helps companies with everything to do with that employee engagement, employee management side of things. So let's get ready to start the webinar. But the thing that I started off with, the importance of just acknowledging the City of Moonee Valley for their business of the local city, of the Moonee Valley City Council. And up to this point, I believe they've just about given away almost $500,000 to small businesses. 72 of those businesses have been successful, and there's been a variety of different types of grants they put out there to encourage companies to apply for. And not every company's been successful. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. But I think it's been a great initiative they've put on. And Mark and I are very grateful for Malcolm and Craig and the team there at Moonee Valley, who I will say believe in us in what we do. So a little bit about me. I'm the director of KBA, Key Business Advisors. We're located in Buckley Street, on the corner of Buckley Street and Lincoln Road, up on the first floor. And we've been around, our business has been around for about 12 and a half years. and just really love what we do. What about yourself, Mark? Whereabouts are you located?
We're in Moonee Ponds, just on top of Kmart in the Moonee Ponds Central Shopping Centre. Great little location for people to come and visit. We've been there for nearly coming on to 5 years, been in the area for a bit over 12, and our business has been going for nearly 22 years. So it's yeah, we're getting on and doing extremely well with our clients and doing a great, I think my team are doing an excellent job looking after all our existing and new clients and our Moonee Valley community as well.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what's really good? 20 years, you've now got the next person for the throne who's just joined us, joined into your business, or will soon be very much a fully qualified accountant, which will be Christian. So it's always good. There's a lot of family businesses in the city of Moonee Valley, and that's what it's all about. So maybe one day my daughters will join me in my business, Mark. Okay,
No
so a little
doubt.
bit about KBA. This really, beg your pardon?
I said no doubt.
A little bit about, no doubt, beautiful, yeah. A little bit about key business advisors. There's really 3 really key areas that we specialise in, and that's our business advice and strategy around how to grow your business, grow sales, grow your team and staff. I'm very much sales driven. How do we generate more income through the business? And you know, we're an outsourced HR business where we offer that HR advice and support, everything from recruitment right through to termination. We're a team of 11 people about to go on to 12, which is absolutely fantastic. And Mark, MKS Group?
MKS Group, we're a accounting business, as I said before, located in Moonee Ponds. We're a team of about 25 at the moment, looking after many small businesses, doing their accounting, tax, bookkeeping. At the moment, we're flat out with JobKeeper and helping people get government grants, not to mention budgeting and planning, which I'm going to talk a lot about coming up, and working with Colin in coaching and mentoring a lot of our clients. And we have a lot of overlap with clients because we find that a lot of clients who need our services need Kiva's services as well. So we work really well together, loving it.
And vice versa, it's really good, yeah. Okay, all right, so if I go through my topic, I'm going to introduce the topic 1. It's not me going through, it's you, Mark. The latest changes with JobKeeper. So if you want to take us through the latest change we've got JobKeeper, I'll, you know, what's changed in this round of JobKeeper that's just come through as of pretty much today, the 1st of October. So our timing for our webinars was perfect.
Yeah, timing is everything, and there's been well, I won't say significant. There's been a few new changes that have happened between the current JobKeeper, which expired a couple of days ago. It was actually the 28th of September, and the new JobKeeper, which started on the 29th. So we're now in the phase of JobKeeper 2.0. Now we've got 2 new extension periods. That's one of the things that's new in this round. The first extension period is going through till the 3rd of January 2021. That's say for the next 12 weeks. And then if you still qualify, you can jump in for the next round of JobKeeper 3.0, which is going to go right through till the 28th of March 2021. Now, if you're in the JobKeeper that just finished, it doesn't give you automatic entry into the next one, right? You need to requalify. You don't need to re-enroll, but you need to requalify. And I'm going to talk a bit about that after as well. If you're not in JobKeeper at the moment and you want to enter the JobKeeper regime, yep, you need to enroll and prove you're eligible to enter. And the same for JobKeeper 3. If you're in JobKeeper 2, you've got to requalify for 3 and so on. Another change is that we've got now a 2-tiered approach. So tier 1 is for those that have worked 80 or more hours in a 4-week period. That's an average of just a bit over 20 hours a week, if you think about it. And tier 2 is for those that have worked less. Okay, so they're the 2 tiers, and obviously they're going to have different amounts to them as well. So for JobKeeper 2.0, the reduced amount, which was $1,500 per employee per fortnight, is now dropping down to $1,200. And if you've worked less than 20 hours, then you're only going to get $750. So, $750 for less than 20 hours. Then let's roll forward into January of next year, which isn't far away. Daylight savings this week, so summer's about to embark upon us. JobKeeper 3.0 will drop from what was 1,200 a week down to 1,000, and for tier 2, it's going to drop down to 650 for those working less than 20 hours. So they're the three main changes. The eligibility criteria, etc., has not changed significantly. But these are the main changes that have come through. Cole, if you just jump to the next slide for me, please. So with eligibility, we still need to show that you've had a decline in turnover, okay? Now, the decline in turnover has to be at least 30%. Yep, 30% down on a comparable quarter. So we've got to look at quarter by quarter. Now, you've got to look at the relevant quarter. So September 19 might be the relevant quarter to compare against September 20. Now, just noticed my next door neighbour's decided to mow his lawns. So excuse it if you can hear the lawnmower going in the background. The joys of working from home. So comparing quarter by quarter, if you think that maybe the June quarter of last year was more relevant, well, that's the one you compare against, but you need to have some good documentation to support why you're not using the September quarter, if that's what we're testing now. So once you've done that and you qualify, then you're in for JobKeeper 2.0. Click your button, please, Cole. Thanks. So in terms of eligibility, what we're looking at now is that you can also include employees that were employed on or before the 1st of July of 2020. Previously, when JobKeeper started in March of this year in the pandemic, you had to have your employees on board by the 1st of March. If you employed anybody else in that period, well, bad luck, they didn't get your JobKeeper. Now, you've got the benefit of being able to include them if you now qualify for JobKeeper and are employed on or before the 1st of July. So that's a great bonus. For full-time, part-time and long-term casuals, the rules haven't changed. It's still the same. The full-time and part-time are okay, except for the tiers, and the casuals have to have had systematic hours in the previous 12 months, and they had to be with you for the 12-month period. So if you've got a casual that you call upon, you know, whenever you need to, ad hoc here and there, that probably won't qualify, okay? So you just need to make sure that you've got systematic and regular hours that they've performed. Needless to say, they have to be at least 18 years of age. If they're 16 or 17 years and working full-time and not full-time students, then, or even if they're working part-time and they are not full-time students, they will qualify too. Now, the residency rule hasn't changed, so our foreign workers are still excluded from JobKeeper. It is for Australian residents only. So our foreign students that are still here, that might have a work permit or are able to work up to 20 hours a week, like most of them are, unfortunately, they're still missing out on any JobKeeper payments. Their eligibility doesn't count. And the other important point to note is that you got to make sure that your employee, if they've got another job somewhere else, you got to be certain that they're not getting JobKeeper from somewhere else as well. Now, with registering your JobKeeper, it's all based on your tax file number. So when we're entering tax file numbers, and so is your other employer, the ATO will soon realize that you've got an overlap, okay? So it's important that you get a declaration from every employee stating that you're the employer that that is going to provide the JobKeeper to them.
I think, Mark, you know, some people are a little bit unsure how this. Yeah, I think, Mark, some of the people are a bit confused in how this works, and I think this is what your company has been doing. Is people have been ringing you up asking, are we eligible? And you're doing like going through the numbers with them and doing that test for them to help them out, aren't you?
Yeah, the test is very important, and we've done it for many clients. We've taken on a lot of new clients in the last 6 months that have not had any bookkeeping done whatsoever, and our team have been madly putting together their numbers. And I'm going to talk more about that after, Cole. I've got a bit about bookkeeping and housekeeping, if you want to call it that. So yeah, it is important, and the calculations that we've been doing have been making sure that we get people the right amount of money they're entitled to. So I want to talk a bit about eligibility, which I started on just on the last slide too. So sole traders may still be eligible if you can still show a decline in your turnover. Okay, so sole traders can still apply for JobKeeper. Unfortunately, with our mum and dad partnerships, where you've got, or two individuals in partnership with each other, only one of the partners can get the JobKeeper, not both. Yep. And I made the reference of mum and dad partnerships. There are a lot of businesses out there, and I know there's some in the audience. I've seen the list of who's here. There are some that I know that are mum and dad partnerships, and unfortunately, it's only one of them that are getting the JobKeeper payment. Same applies if you're running a family trust. If your business is operating through a discretionary trust, only one of the beneficiaries can be eligible for JobKeeper if you're not already on the payroll. If you're on the payroll, then that's fine, you've got eligibility. But if you are not on the payroll or you don't have any employees, you still can qualify for a business participant JobKeeper payment, but only one beneficiary of the trust can get it. And the same applies to a company. If you're running your business through a company, only one of the shareholders can get it if he's not an employee. I don't see many, well, I won't say I'm yet to see, but I don't see many companies that are not paying wages to their director or shareholder as an employee. All right, so those rules haven't changed. Everything's still the same. The eligibility is still there. The sole trader has to be, everybody still has to qualify. Yep. So if you're already enrolled, you don't need to re-enroll. If you're not getting JobKeeper 1.0 and you're going to qualify for 2.0, we need to do a fair bit of work to get you up and running to start getting it. And there are time factors, right? It is time critical. The ATO give us 14 days to get all this information in and lodged and your income declared. So keep that in mind. Don't come to us in the middle of November and say, hey, I qualified for JobKeeper back in September. Can I get last month's? The answer is no. The ATO were flexible for month 1 and month 2, but lately there is no flexibility left whatsoever. Yep. So I'll just make that point. Just be very, very, very aware that dates are critical. Now, if anyone's got questions while I'm speaking, please put them through on the chat. Christian and Michael are there ready to answer the questions that you might have. So pop them through, and if I need to announce any answers to the group, I will do that as well. So start pumping them through, please, guys. So what do you need to do to ensure that you're still registered? Simple, do your calculations. Today's the 1st of October. I should have asked my guys how many JobKeeper lodgements we did today, but I tell you, between 20 accountants and bookkeepers, I reckon there was quite a few that were done. So it's a matter of doing the calculations, working out. I just got a note to say that was plenty. Thank you, Michael. I'm sure it was more than plenty. I haven't even told them the ones I've done yet. Need to do your GST turnover calculation. So we need to know what was your income for the month of September and August and July as well, because it's a whole quarter that we need to add together. So that information needs to be done, right? And if you're already eligible for JobKeeper and you're going to be eligible again, well, we need to tell the ATO and prove that you're still eligible. Yeah. So we need to get the calculations done so that we know what your turnover is. Next thing is to ensure that you're enrolled. So for the first time, if this is the first period that you're getting JobKeeper, the enrollment process does require a bit of work, okay? So it's not something that I'm going to suggest you try and do yourself. A lot of people have tried it, then they come to us and we've got to fix it, right? And I'd rather do it properly right up at the outset rather than try and fix something later on, okay? So make sure you're enrolled, make sure your declarations are done, and you need a declaration from every eligible employee. If you ring the ATO for any reason about JobKeeper, they will ask you the question, do you have declarations from your employees? You're saying yes, you're creating a legally binding agreement with the ATO that you've got it and you're holding it. And if it's not in your hot little hands here, then you haven't got it, right? You've got to have it, whether it's scanned and emailed or in a Dropbox or it's on a, I don't know, on your emails on your phone. It doesn't matter, so long as you've got it. And the employee and the employer both have to sign the declaration. Next thing, which is really important, is to work out your tier 1 and your tier 2 employees. Now, You know, my guys are lucky because they do timesheets, so I know who works how many hours, and I can work that out quite comfortably if I was going to be eligible for JobKeeper. If you're in the retail, you've probably got a roster which shows the hours that your team have worked, and you've got payroll records too. So if you've got good payroll records, you will be able to do your tier 1 and tier 2 calculations quite easily. If you've got a time and attendance system, that's even easier, because the good ones like Tanda and Deputy, I believe, are going to have a little button that you can push and the information will just come out. So if you've got good records, you'll be able to get that kind of information up quite easily, right? So it won't be difficult. All right, so
And
any
Mark,
questions?
yeah, Mark, I read an article during the week that you know, the ATO have doubled their workforce now on auditing businesses, and I think they've already clawed back about 70 million in Australia of people who have not done the right thing or haven't lodged their paperwork or documentation. And I think that's important that everyone should know that just do that due diligence. Make sure that someone runs your eyes over what you're submitting to make sure that it's 100% right. Because my understanding is if the ATO find out that you've done something wrong, you've actually got to pay the entire lot back from day one of
Yep.
what's been given to you from the ATO. So I think it's important that your message is loud and clear. But it's very important that people need to understand that you do that due diligence and make sure that you get, if I use the word, the professional to go and check that to make sure that you're submitting right. And that's not what we do. It's what you guys do really, really well, is help people with making sure they're eligible. I think it's really important that people understand that on this webinar. So do we
Yeah,
have any
absolutely.
questions?
That's a really good point.
Um,
Another point that I want to make is that another thing to be aware of too for employers, that if you are not eligible for JobKeeper 1.0 or 2.0, you're still a legacy employer and you still got the stand down directives that are available to you under Fair Work. So Cole, I'm not sure if you or Alison might talk a bit about that later on, or if that's a separate, that's pretty much a separate topic in itself. I think that could
it
almost
is, it is,
qualify.
but
That could almost
there's a question
qualify
that's
for
come.
its own webinar.
Yeah, there's a question that's come in. So if you have at least 10% reduction in turnover, can you still stand employee, still stand down employees? That's a question that I'll definitely will get Alison to answer in shortly.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Great.
All right.
Awesome.
Getting
All
getting
right.
your business back. So getting your business back on track. This is all about what we're both very much passionate about. But I think, one of the things that I talk to a lot of companies about, what does success now look like for you and your business? So, I think we've all got to get to this understanding that it's not going to go back to the way it was, right? I'm sure you have that same conversation, Mark, with your customers. It's not going to go back to the way it was. We need to understand what is the new or the new normal. And I think what's important is we've got this situation where we've been in this mad rush for the last 6 months, where we've pivoted our business and we've created things. But now it's about, well, okay, we've got to trade out of this and we've got to make sure that we put things in place. So my key points are, this is all about having that positive mindset within the direction of where you want to take your business. And again, I think, there are some businesses out there that I said are doing really, really well. Some are doing okay and some are struggling. But, it's that positive mental mindset that you've got to have. And you've got to know how to have that positive way of, with your team on, this is what we need to do to trade out of where we're currently in. I think, as I said, many businesses have pivoted in a new direction with the lockdown. But as you open, and there's some businesses that are about to reopen, you've really got to sit back and ask yourself, well, what does success look like now? And for me, what does it look like for you and your business? And I'll get into it in a sec. What does it look like for your team? And you need to have that vision, a solid pathway out of this lockdown to get your business back on track. And if I could just share with you a case study, I'm working with a client right now, and they've got their vision and values and everything in the business, but they're all a little bit flat, a little bit lost in the way of they were trading. And I went into this business and I did what I call the King's speech to the team, and pretty much said that your vision should be that you all need to collaborate, work together as a team to get everyone back full-time employed. And in the business right now, we've got people that are working 3 days a week, 4 days a week, and we've got 10 staff that are not working at all. They've been stood down. So this is what we've got to do, guys. We've got to collaborate together, and we've got to work more stronger together. And our vision right now, our purpose right now is over the next quarter is to get everyone back full time and really push that through that business, which is now they're on the journey, and it's absolutely starting. Their online sales, just to show you, has gone from like you know, about 30K a month to over 100K a month because of just the team focus of their marketing department and getting products out on time. So to me, I think, you know, if this is about what you want for you and your business, and, you know, we need to accept, as I said before, the new normal is a better way of doing business, because I don't think it's going to go back to the old way. I don't know how you feel about that, Mark, but to me, you know, it's a new way we're doing business right now. And, you know, last night, amazingly, I did some online training for 5 businesses up in Queensland from 5:30 to 7:30, and it's just a new way of doing it. And normally I facilitate the whole thing from start to finish, and what I did was I had their leaders participating in the facilitation. So it's just a new way of thinking, new process, new way of doing business. And, you know, all business owners are on this webinar. I guarantee you're waking up in the middle of the night or early hours of the morning going, what do we need to do now? And you just really got to get that pathway going. And I think
we're history in the making. We're creating history. We're creating a new COVID normal, and I don't think any of us know what this COVID normal is going to look like. I hear Dan Andrews talk about it every bloody morning when he's doing his update, and all I keep hearing is COVID normal, and I don't think any of us know what it's going to look like. We might have a bit of an idea, but I think it's history in the making, and I don't think the world has ever seen anything like this before.
No, and I think as a motivation, one of the things that I always start off with is saying, you know, you got to realize where you are right now, because in 20, 30 years time, when your grandchildren ask you what was life like, you know, when COVID-19 happened, this is history in the making. And it's no different to when, you know, I have my grandparents, what was the, you know, the depression like and stuff like that, because I researched it at school. So that's what's going to happen. So I think, you know, what does success look like for your staff now, right? So I think that's really important, because, you know, there's a lot of uncertainty going through. And, you know, Mark, one of the things that we've seen over this last 6 months is the businesses that we work with that have got really good, you know, that really good mission, vision and values, and really got that solid foundation in place, that have taken their staff on a journey. They've really backed the business and supported the business, where we've also seen where, if I can say it, the business owner has been a little bit lost in what to do and haven't communicated very well to their staff, which is creating more stress and anxiety. And I know the business owner is also going through that stress and anxiety as well. But again, that's where you need to reach out and get that support. So to me, it's really important that you need to show a pathway for your staff to follow. And I think what's important is, you know, what does your business need? What do your business needs to do in order to survive? And I think, you know, one of the things I did with my team is I brainstormed with them, what do you think we need to do? And we put a plan in place back in end of March, and we had a quarterly, this is what we need to do, this is what we need to stick to. And if I use the words, people have got to stay in their lanes and swim those lanes, like, you know, we're up against Mr. Phelps or something like that, you know. So I think it's really important, and, you know, your staff should understand the reasons why we need to do change. Now, traditionally, from a HR point of view, staff don't like change, right? But we're in this pandemic, and there's 2 ways that they can accept it. If I create the change, or if I understand the change, and you've got to get that buy-in and clarity, then what happens is I'll run with it. And I think, you know, one of the things that I talked about with my team, and that's the way I always give my case studies and examples, was, you know, Lorraine and myself, you know, we said to our team, it is our responsibility to keep you guys fully in full-time employment. Even though my staff said, Colin, if you need us to go to 4 days a week or 3 days a week, just reach out. But I go, no, we've got a plan. This is our plan. If we execute the plan, we should be okay. And I think, you know, I look back at that, you know, at that moment, and everyone put in their ideas. We come up with a plan and we executed it, and we've done a really good job of that. So your staff should have that clarity of what the business needs to do and achieve. So I can't emphasize the importance of that communication that needs to happen. And if your staff needs, staff needs to buy into what you want to do, and they've really got to understand the reasons why. And I'm probably doing more business acumen training at the moment than I've ever done before, because I think people just don't, we've heard it out there. I've had clients ring me saying, well, my staff have told me that you've got job keepers, so you should be fine. So it's like, okay, so my reaction to that is, no, they just need to understand that, that's just trying to help you stay in business. It's not because, it doesn't work that you're making profit or anything like that. You need to give them a bit more understanding around that business acumen. So to me, I think, what does success look like for your staff? This is all about, that delegation of what you need people to do, and to me, that leadership, which I think is really, really important.
Leadership is one of the most critical
And
things, Cole. Absolutely, 100%.
well,
I'll give a very quick example of a client that I've been mentoring for the last 12 to 18 months, and they got a team of people, and half the workforce is out on the field and the other half are office bound. Obviously now they're homebound, but this employer did nothing to bring the team together at any one point throughout this whole pandemic. And when I found that out and I realized that there was a bit of a culture issue going on, we started just doing a simple thing like a weekly team meeting and have a bit of fun, run a quiz, talk about what's going on in the business, about who's doing what. And the engagement by these people, by these team members, has just gone, it's gone better. I won't say out of control. I won't say it's skyrocketed.
yeah.
It's gotten a lot better. And it's all about communication. And now, if we're going to be stuck at home for a little bit longer, or if you're going to be working remotely for a little bit longer, you need to make sure that you got great communication with your team. I mean, my team, I speak to everybody in my team every morning. We have a 8:30 meeting on Microsoft Teams, and everyone's talking about what they're going to get done today, and when they need some time out, or when they need to go off and do something, or whatever needs to happen. But everybody knows what everybody's doing, and we're all communicating with each other. That's critical, and that's all leadership.
It is. It is leadership, and it's just giving that clarity and the reasons why we're doing things. And look, everyone on this webinar, we're all in the same boat. I haven't seen some of my staff for 6 months. So I haven't seen them for 6 months. It's all been done via Zoom, and that's, I don't want that. None of us want that. We want to try and get back together and collaborate and have a really good Christmas party and all that sort of stuff. But it's just been very difficult, and again, there's ways that you can create. And as you said, the quiz, I love the good old Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. That's something I've run in my team every month as a bit of a laugh. And it's more, we're all guessing about what's going on in the business and what's going on with some of our clients. So again, you've got to make that interactive, and you've got to bring the fun back into it. As much as we're in this downturn, or as I talk about this recession that we're actually in, this is all about recession-proofing your business and recession-proofing your staff. So to me, why you must implement some best practice principles to get you going. So I push this to all of my customers: don't fall in the trap of being reactive and live in that vicious circle. And I think that's, and I'm going to tell you, we're all being guilty of doing that. But I think, and there's times where, Mark, you and I have communicated, I'm on my way home ready to cry, right, because of things going on. But there are other times I go home and I'm jumping out of my skin. So, that's something you and I always talk about, bounce ideas and stuff like that off one another. But, I can't tell you that you can't fall into that trap of that vicious circle. You've got to surround yourself with people that are going to keep you positive. I think most of us have been reactive in this COVID-19 period, and I go, accept it. That's okay. But now it's time to rebound and get back on track. And I love North Essendon shops. I love the coffee shops down there, and you can just see they're all hanging to fire up again and get those people some people sitting down enjoying their beautiful food. I can't wait for all that to happen. I think following some sort of best practice method actually reduces the stress and anxiety for you and your staff. And I know you're going to talk about Xero shortly, Mark, but again, you've got to know your numbers. You've got to be able to see your numbers. You've got to go back to some of the basics, and I always relate it to an AFL football team. When they want to rebuild, they go back to basics. And in many ways, if your business is not going too well at the moment during COVID-19, you've got to get back to the core basics and bring in those best practice methods. I truly believe that best practice methods tried and tested methods and can produce results. So you've got to know your numbers, you've got to know where your staff are at, the performance discussions you have. You've got to get back to those best practice principles. And I think, you know, having a bird's eye view of how your business is performing is the key for better success. And a big thing is we're all living in the now within the way that we're working, but I think we've all got to start to have this foresight of what does 2021 look like, and how we're going to trade through this quarter, get into Christmas, and then really try and I use the word make up what we've lost in 2020. And I think you also need to start, you know, working out how your business can perform without the government initiatives. And that's something that, you know, I addressed that with my team back in March, that, you know, we've got to have this mindset that there is no government incentives. We've got to try and work out a way, change the way we're doing things, that we can't rely on it, because if we lost it tomorrow, we don't want to be a situation where we've now got to put staff off or we're drowning. And as you know, Mark, as business owners, if we don't have the money, where does it come from? It comes out of our savings or off our mortgage. So I think it's really important to get those best practice methods happening. So I hope you enjoyed my little tips of what I've given. I'm going to hand this over to you now, Mark, in topic 3. You know, what leads into that, you know, not to rely on the government initiatives. So over to you, Mark.
It might help if I unmute my microphone. All right, thank you, Colin. And I'll put my camera back on too so you can see me. There's a lot of tools out there that we can use in order to help us make more informed decisions in our business. And those that have heard me speak before have heard me say over and over and over that we need some very good tools behind us in order to keep our books in order, right? So it is absolutely critical that we do this. Now, so far, and since the start of this pandemic, all of the government incentives and stimulus package that's been out there, whether it's the cash flow boost, which is still happening, it's again this quarter, and that was up to, you know, close to 100 grand for a lot of businesses, though, and the government grants and even the state government grants, all of those relied on you having to have proper books and records in your business, right? Now, if you haven't got it, and I know there's a lot of businesses out there, because I've had probably half a dozen of them, ranging, and I'll say up and down the east coast of Australia, that have come to us in the last 6 months to get them sorted out. And they've given me, one of them gave me just a pile of bank statements that they'd scanned, because they were that old, they couldn't even get the records out of their internet banking. That's how far back they went without doing bookkeeping. They've missed out, I worked out, on $180,000 of government assistance. That's a shitload of money in anyone's language, right? $180,000. That can buy a house in some places, right? So needless to say that this business needed the money, and now they're wanting to get their life in order. So if any more incentives do come out, that they're eligible to get it, right? So there's 2 reasons why the government have done this. One is they want to know that you actually do deserve the stimulus they're getting or they're giving out, and to make sure you got proper books and records. And the second reason is for them to collect some revenue as well. So you're in the system and they've captured you. So yes, it is a double-edged sword, but at the end of the day, unless you're compliant, you're not going to get any assistance. It's simple as that. And we've learned that in the past few months, that registrations for things like work cover and single touch payroll have all gone through the roof. I don't even know how many work cover registrations we've done for clients that have never ever had it. Now, probably they've either had bad advice from their accountant to say that you know, they haven't needed it, or they've had no advice because they don't have an accountant that helps them, or they just rely on a bookkeeper who ordinarily wouldn't know all these things anyway. But bottom line is that there's a lot of people out there who have neglected their obligations, and now they're suffering the consequences because they haven't been able to activate any of the government support. So that's a shame for a lot of people. But there's some of you are clients at MKS, some of you are new clients of MKS, and some of you probably need to be a client at MKS, right? Our job is to make sure that you are compliant and you remain fully compliant. Then if you're not, you're probably going to miss out on further support that the state or the federal government are going to be dishing out, right? And I believe there is more coming. We're currently in the infancy of what Colin said before, and what's been now called a COVID-induced recession, right? We're right at the start of it. I don't know where it's going to go, where it's going to stop, but we're at the start of it. It's going to be a tough road, and government have vowed that they will provide some more assistance to business owners. Now, don't be the one that misses out, right? So if you're in a mess, let's get you sorted out, okay? And if you're not sure if you're compliant, then take advantage. We give a complimentary client review. It's not going to cost you anything for us to have a look to make sure that you're compliant or not. So if you want that, pop it in the chat. Michael and Christian will take down your details and we'll get in touch with you. It's simple. So don't lose out. The federal government's pushing out their budget in the coming weeks. That's what's going to announce whether we're going to get any more money or not, because they're going to have to budget for it, right? So I'm saying that there maybe is a bit of urgency, and when is now a good time to get yourself in order, right? Enough on that. So don't fall behind is what I was saying. Now, another important thing is budgeting and work on your expected projected revenue versus your known expenses. Now, if you're on my webinar a few weeks ago, you definitely would have heard me talk about learning the difference between your variable costs and your fixed costs. And yes, I know some of you were on there because I've seen the list of who's on. Sorry, you're going to hear it again. And if you didn't understand me the first time, you're probably going to understand me this time. So fixed costs and variable costs. Your fixed ones are things like your rent, your regular loan payments if you've got one, your lease payments on your cars or lease payments on equipment. They're fixed. You know what they are. They're going to happen every month, and typically they happen by direct debit. Then we've got variable costs. Now, the variable cost can go up and down. At the moment, electricity is a variable cost because I don't know about you guys, but my office electricity bill has gone down by less than half. Home's gone up, but office has gone down. So they're your variables. So you need to know the difference between those two and be able to distinguish between them, okay? And then you need to look at which of the expenses goes up as your revenue goes up. So I'm thinking that if you've got employees and the more they sell, the longer hours they've got to work, well, that means that they're variable costs, okay? So when you're projecting your revenue, when you're trying to work out what sort of revenue you're going to make in the coming months, when we're coming out of this COVID, and we're coming out of this pandemic, then you need to look at where your expenses are going to be as well. Because it's enough to say that we've got revenue coming in, great, we can pay our bills, but we've got to also look at the bills that we've probably haven't had to pay for the last 6 months that we're now going to suddenly start paying again, right? And I'll talk a bit more
Well,
about the loans.
I think, Mark, I think everyone would have received a letter from their banks just before the 28th of September saying your loans are now got to start to be repaid and repaid back. I think we've all received those letters now. So it is now making sure that we can sustain that.
Yeah, I've got that as a topic later on, so I'll be definitely talking about that.
Yep.
And the other thing that I wanted to say is that, have you pushed your business online yet? Unless you're a hairdresser or a beautician or a similar sort of business that you can't sell online other than product. Yeah, I know of a lot of hairdressing salons that are selling their products online, so that's no problem, but you can't sell your services, unfortunately. I need a haircut badly. So if you haven't got yourself online, you really need to get there. I was actually chatting to a real estate agent just recently, and he said to me, he goes, "Oh, I can't wait to get the green light that we can open again so I can start marketing again." I said, "Well, how do your customers know that you're actually still in business?" He goes, "Yeah, good point." Next thing you know, before we even finished the conversation, he'd already started pushing out a post on Facebook telling his clients that he is still in business. So what I'm saying is that when you're online, that doesn't mean having an online shop. It just means having an online presence. Do some marketing. Let your customers know that you're going to be back. When the doors open, the green light happens, you're going to be back in business and you're going to be out there, selling to them again. They need to know, because when they come out of COVID, they come out of lockdown and they need your services, you've got to be at the front of their face so that you're the first one they come and visit, right? I can't stress that enough. All right, you've gone over to the next slide. Thank you. So making informed decisions as JobKeeper reduces, right? So JobKeeper is reducing. JobKeeper is going to either disappear for some people, or it's going to go down, or it's going to stop. we're getting a last payment in the next few days. So those that have lodged their declarations now are going to get their payments in the coming days, early next week. So if you're going to requalify for the next round, you might need to look at the hours that your staff are working, right? So JobKeeper, as Colin said before, doesn't mean that you've made plenty of money in your business, because all you've done is you've collected that money and you've paid it out to your staff. Now, some businesses have either gone from 5 days to 3, and that's reduced the hours that they've worked, but they've still had their team working where they've been able to, those businesses that were able to operate. If you haven't been able to operate, well, your staff have been sitting at home looking for something to do, but at least you've been paying them. If we get released out of lockdown and you're going to receive JobKeeper and you still don't need your staff there all the time, reduce their hours. You don't have to pay them their full-time rate. You must pay them at least the JobKeeper amount, but you don't have to pay the full salary, right? You can do that. So reduce their hours. Save you paying the extra costs unnecessarily.
And I think, Mark, we've been doing a hell of a lot of work with helping customers educate on how to have that conversation and do it right. So I can't stress that enough, that if you are going to reduce somebody's hours, or we commonly hear people wanting to do pay cuts for their staff, and it's a big no-no. You can't drop someone's wages by 20%. You can't do that, right? You've got to, you can drop them down a day, 5 days to 4 days. That's 20% of their income coming through. But there's some rules that are around that you can't do. And I know that we've had some conversations with some customers where they go, we have to do it, I don't care, and they've done it. But I go back to what I said before, Fair Work and the ATO are now auditing businesses, and if there's anything that's been done that's not compliant, they will have to pay back every bit of JobKeeper, right back from ground zero, by not doing the right thing. So, and we're starting to see now companies getting found out of trying to do the wrong thing, making staff work more hours for the JobKeeper when even a young casual that was working 2 days a week, now you got to work 3 days a week to make up the difference. You can't do that. So our team has been very strong in giving that advice.
Yep, I know you've given advice to a lot of our clients as well, so and they've been extremely grateful for it too. So now the next thing I want to talk about is the rent relief. Okay, this has been a really contentious issue with a lot of people, whether you're a landlord or you're a tenant, right? I'm going to focus more on the tenants because, I think most of us online here are tenants. We may be residential landlords, or we might be commercial landlords too, but my focus is on the business owners who are paying rent. The code of conduct that the landlords must abide by, and it's a state-by-state legislation, has now been extended in Victoria until the 31st of December. And the government does have the ability to extend it even further if necessary, okay? So if you haven't been able to get rent relief from your landlord, then you need to speak to a solicitor, maybe speak to your accountant first, because they can start the wheels in motion, but you definitely need to speak to your solicitor and get the rent reduced. If you're qualifying for JobKeeper, the landlord must reduce your rent, okay? So that code of conduct has been extended. It did expire on the 30th of September, which was yesterday. Yep, yesterday. It's now been extended another 3 months. So if you're eligible and you've still got a reduced turnover, you'll find your rent's going to be reduced as well, okay? And there is a distinction between rent and outgoings. Outgoings are not included in that. You still need to pay your full outgoings, but your rent amount can be reduced, all right? If you're a landlord, there are some grants available and some assistance available to you. There's some landlords that live on the rent, and that without it, they're going to be facing financial hardship. So there's a specific grant available for them. And you can look on the business support website. That's a brand new one that's come out. State of Victoria or state government, Dan Andrews. Apparently we're not allowed to use the word dictator, Dan, because we get in trouble, but okay, we'll call him Dan Andrews, the Premier. He has released some new grants specifically for landlords, right? There's also the ability to get your land tax reduced. So if you haven't taken advantage of land tax, if you're paying it, not everyone's paying it, but if you are, if you haven't taken advantage of the reduction, and that's been available. You can jump on the state revenue website and use your online account, and you can apply for that as well. All right, so they're just some key points to help you make some informed decisions, because as JobKeeper goes down, that's your subsidy to your wages going down as well. You either need to supplement that with increased revenue, right, which I'm hoping is going to happen once we're out of this lockdown period, or you need to make other arrangements. So it's important that you're aware of what you need to do as JobKeeper reduces. Yeah, I can't stress that enough. Flip it over, please, Cole.
Okay,
Finances.
managing your finances for better outcomes. Beautiful.
Yeah, that's this is a good point. And I think, Colin, you mentioned before about the COVID loans and people that have been on pause, and I will talk about that in a minute. But right now, the cost of borrowing money is so cheap. It is cheap as chips. I have never ever seen interest rates so low. I mean, I'm 53. When I was 19, I was paying 1% interest for every year of my life. I was paying 19% interest on a home loan. The house was only $80,000, but my income that was paying for that was much less as well. So, you know, compared from 30 odd years ago till 34 years ago till now, we've gone from 19% right down to, some people are paying 3 and 4%, but if your home loan doesn't start with a number 2, not a 1, but a number 2. If it doesn't start with a number 2, you need to put something in the chat now and we'll get some help for you, right? Because rates are very, very low at the moment. Now, a lot of you, as Colin mentioned before, may have had your home loans on pause, right? So you had 3, 4, 5, 6 months where you did not have to make your loan repayments. But what a lot of us did not know is that come the end of the 6 months, the banks are going to give us 2 options. Option 1, give us a lump sum of all that money you didn't pay us. Now, I know it rained yesterday, but I didn't see it raining money. So where the money's going to come from to pay that 6 months worth of repayments that we haven't done is beyond me, right? So that's probably not going to happen. Option 2 is to extend the amount you've borrowed, extend your loan, and make the loan larger and potentially go for longer. Now that again means you need to reapply with the bank. So you're almost refinancing, okay? So I'm saying that now is a great time to look at refinancing your loan. If your loan starts with a number 3 or a number 4, or you're in the high 2s, and I mean above 2.6 or 2.7%, you really need to talk to us, okay? Because that's just not on. Even if your loan's been on pause, then there's definitely some opportunity for you to get some extra money. Now, refinancing is quite simple. I was talking with our MKS lending director the other day about a client who refinanced the last time about 15 years ago. And they went through hell. They went to hell and back with the refinance. It was one of the worst experiences that I'd ever seen them go through. And they've been really anxious about ever doing it again. When I was talking to them and going through these sort of things, which is what we do with our clients, and I discovered that they were paying in the 4s, right? The first thing I said to them is, listen, we need to look at refinancing. And I said that, and I was expecting someone to shoot a bullet through the Zoom that we were on, but they didn't. They asked me if it was going to be the same experience they'd had before and whether they'd need to go back into therapy. And I said, no, we'll make this happen for you. Within 4 days, we had an approval. Now we're getting documentation done. And then within about 2 weeks, we're going to refinance it. They've gone from 4-point-something% on their loan down to 2.19 fixed rate. 2.19. That's just ludicrous, right? It's unheard of, but it's happening. So if it happened for them, it can happen for you too. All right. So that's a way of getting some extra benefit and extra help in your business, is to refinance, and you, at the same time, you can release some equity that's in your home. Yeah. If you've got some equity in the property that you've got now, you could release some of that. Now, I said before that we're in a recession. What normally happens in a recession is the property prices start to fall down. We're at the beginning of it. So refinance now while our property values are still good, release some equity in your home, get some capital behind you, so that when property prices start to tumble, you might go and buy another one. And then watch what happens when the property prices go up again. You'll remember this webinar and you'll say, yep, that's what Mark told us, right? So I really, really encourage that. And there's there will be a lot of opportunities. Any good financial planner or real estate agent will tell you that the best time to invest money is when the market is low. Yeah, and obviously when things are cheap, we want to buy them, as long as we can sell them later on at a profit. Yeah, we're going to pay capital gains tax, but it's not 100%. Yeah, so make the most of it, get some equity out of your house, have that little buffer there in the event that something does come up and you can purchase another property or other investments. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a house. So think about that. All right, moving along. So what other government initiatives or incentives can you get some more leverage from? Well, thankfully, we've got some more grants available to us, and there's a fair bit on offer at the moment. Now, Colin did mention this before, but I'm going to say it again because it's an absolutely sensational thing. Those that are running a business within the city of Moonee Valley would have been aware of the City of Moonee Valley COVID-19 recovery grants that were available. And our council provided a little bit under $500,000, that's $500,000 to 72 successful businesses. That money got used to help them get, it's like adapting to change. So they thought outside the box and changed the way they did things and were given some government, some council assistance for that to happen. So I know that my clients that received it were so grateful for the money and it really went to good use. Now, there's going to be another round of council grants coming up, which I don't think are going to be available until probably January next year. So keep an eye out for the Council eConnect newsletters. Keep an eye out on our website or our emails, and you'll get more information there as well. On a state level, we've got round 3 of the Business Support Fund. So round 3 is now open. Again, it's time-stamped. If you get in by, I forgot the date, I think it's about 6th of November. If we get it in by then, you're eligible, you'll get your money. Don't come on the 7th of November because it's going to be too late. And there is no way in hell of opening it up again just for one application or because you forgot to do it, okay? There's also the State of Victoria Hospitality Fund. That one's a little bit more difficult to achieve because you need quite a large payroll. You need about a $3 million payroll for that to happen. So if you're in hospitality and you got a $3 million payroll, jump online and get your 25K. All right, it's worth it. There's also a Sole Trader Support Fund. Now, the Sole Trader Support Fund, unfortunately, has got some restrictions to it as well. You need to be GST registered. Yeah, you don't need to have employees, but you need to be GST registered and you can get this support fund. Okay, there's about $3,000 up for grabs. Now, the reason you've got to be GST registered is what I think is that they're trying to stop these small hobby type businesses in getting these $3,000 grants, which makes more available for the businesses that do deserve it. The other restriction with the sole traders is that you must be operating from commercial premises. Unfortunately, for our plumbers and electricians that are sole traders that are using their home as their office or their garage as their workshop, you're going to miss out. Yeah, you need to have commercial premises. All right, so that's important too. We've still got JobKeeper 2 and JobKeeper 3. I've said enough about that. I don't need to say any more. And as I mentioned before, there's going to be some more federal government stimulus coming out, whether it's in the form of tax cuts, whether it's in the form of one thing that we've asked them to do in our meetings with government in the past few weeks, we've asked them to take away the fringe benefits tax on dining out. So is that we can go and have a nice meal at a restaurant with a client or our customers and get a tax deduction for it. Now, wouldn't that be a great idea, like we used to get for those that are old enough to remember? So if they take away the fringe benefits tax on that, that's going to be absolutely awesome. Yeah, it's going to encourage hospitality, it's going to help hospitality grow, and it's going to give us a tax deduction for dining out. And we're all going to want to do it. I'm dying to go to a restaurant. Don't know about you guys, but I'm really looking forward to getting out to a restaurant. That's it from me on government stimulus, and now we're about to get the Band-Aid ripped off for some greater outcomes. Now, ripping off the Band-Aid can sometimes hurt, depends on where it is and how hairy your arm is. But Colin, you're going to make it easy for us, I believe.
Oh, that's it, mate. That's it, Mark. I think, look, it's time, I think, to get that sales activity going as things start to open up. So, for the businesses that have had the online businesses, Mark, you talked about, I think, yep, there's been some good money that's come through, but traditionally we deal with a hell of a lot of sales-based businesses that have a sales force, and they've been doing those Zoom meetings over the phone as best as possible. And one of the hardest things has been is because of this downturn of stage 4, not everyone answers their phone or responds back to an email. But I definitely think that as the announcements, as our the COVID numbers drop, and as things start to open up, it is really, really important that we've got to get that sales activity going. And I know we've all been doing it to the best of our ability, but one of the things, a lot of work that I'm doing right now is making sure that you start to do some of those best practice things. So, as discussed earlier, you need to follow those best practice to create more activity. And I think for me, it's around that follow up your leads from those marketing activities. So what's really, really interesting is I see a lot of companies that are just throwing stuff at marketing, spraying it out left, right, and centre. And people are doing things like downloading stuff off their website or looking at some information, and there's no follow-up. So I can certainly echo that some of the success that we're having is I ran all these Survive and Thrive webinars that I did in the first quarter from April to the end of June. I did one a week, and we had a lot of downloads off our website. We had 155 people download off our website, and that generated us to put on somebody to do that follow-up and making appointments. So at the moment, I'm getting like 3 to 4 appointments a week from a wonderful lady, Sarah, who's working from home. I've only met her face to face 3 or 4 times, who's actually just ringing to see, following it up, and it's just generating more and more interest all the time. And obviously, what that does generate is those proposals. So when you have a conversation with a customer, we send those proposals out. So how many proposals have we sent out that we haven't followed up during these times? And I think, as I said, as things start to open up, it's about getting back in that sales mode and back on the bandwagon of what you need to do. I think, and Mark, you and I had a conversation before, but following up all your existing clients, which my team have been absolutely fantastic in doing, and so have you with your clients. But I think, one of the things that we've been going for 12 and a half years, one of the things that's really surprised me is so many of our past clients have come back to us, and it hasn't been, we've never lost them, or we've never had a bad fallout or anything like that. It's just that their business has been, they've got it from good to great and it's working. But we've had so many past clients come back and go, now we need your help, Colin. We need that change management. We need that motivation of you to come in and just spur things along. So I think, again, don't rule out, revisiting some of your old clients. And in the terminology of sales, we call them win backs. How do we win back some of those old clients that we used to work with? I think it's important that you capture all of that information into some form of CRM, which is a client records management system. And again, when we're putting out this, social media, and we're putting out blogs and stuff like that, we're capturing all this information because it's valuable information. And again, I sit here really, really proud of my team's effort and our marketing effort of what we've done, because we've had over the last 6 months over 800 people join our website and come on board with what we've done. And I think, again, that has just been so proactive. And I think what's important is look for those cross-sell and upsell opportunities. So, in a previous webinar, I talked about, well, you need to go and start talking about what's hot on the market, what do people want. But as we start to now, come out of this COVID-19, we now start to bring back some of the products that you might not have been able to sell or have a conversation about because it wasn't relevant, during the shutdown. But as we come out now, I think it's important that we need to go through it. And for me, I talked about best practice, and I like to see a pipeline. So, the way things are set up in my business, every Thursday at 1 o'clock, a pipeline report comes to me of what we've got on the go. And I think, it's so important to make sure that you've got your you're focused on making sure you're generating those opportunities. And I think, look, it's all about forecasting, because you talked about forecasting before, Mark. You got to know, where's your future income coming from? And this is probably more a B2B, but also too, I look at it, even if you're a retailer or a restaurant and stuff like that, if you've got a lot of activity going on with your marketing and social media, you should gauge from the engagement what's going to happen. I think it's really important to have some sort of something to benchmark yourself with. So based on the above, you should be able to do some sort of forecasting and focus on your opportunities. And I think, this is the thing that we're in this COVID, and, it's about the mindset. And, the blood that runs through my veins is always about, growing and making sure that we're taking that next step forward. Failure doesn't come across, doesn't come easily or go through my thought process. I always look for that avenue out. And I think, one of the things that some people stress about is lack of income. Or one of the things that I stress about is lack of forecasting. If we've got good pipeline and we know that we've got good customers coming our way, then that sets us up for success, which I think is important. So to me, making those right decisions to move your business forward. So again, this is a sales conversation, which is totally opposite to you're talking about the JobKeeper, Mark, and I think that's what makes this webinar so great. Is sales to me is the bloodline of every business, and and we're all wanting stage 4 to finish so we can get back to business. I think, I know none of us, there's not one person that I know of a business owner that cannot wait to open up and get things moving again. I think you need to have that really good insight of what's happening today. And I talked about before that foresight of what could happen tomorrow. So those different, pivoting your business, going down those different income streams, that is important. And I think, managing your finances is key for survival. And I don't need to talk about that because I think you've done a great job with that, Mark. But that pipeline and that forecasting of that potential revenue that's coming or could come will help you make better decisions. And again, just if I can just explain, in conversations I've had with customers where their staff have been stagnant and they've worked from home and the whole lot, some things have slipped, like updating the CRM or updating a database or updating information or not having the proposals all in one area. So things have slipped, and I can't push it hard enough that it is important that you make sure that you get that back online and back on track as quick as possible. And yes, we all have cloud-based systems, but are our staff doing what we need them to do to make sure of what that forecast is? In a conversation I had with one particular client, the sales team are on 4 days a week and they want to come back to 5. And I asked them about what's in the pipeline and they couldn't tell me. So I go, well, how will we put you on to 5? In actual fact, based on what you told me, you really should be working 3 days a week. And all of a sudden that was just like that, if I can use that kicker, that conversation, within 3 or 4 days, these guys just got hungry and started generating things. So I can't push that hard enough. So, back to your point, Mark, knowing, with Xero, knowing your sales, knowing your purchases and expenses can help you make those informed decisions. And, I talked about before, the government grants, they're here, and it's great if they're here, but you really got to have this mindset that what can I do in my business to not rely on them? So when we want all this to happen, I think it's really important that, seeking that clarity on your goals and objectives with your team. So you want to be in the driver's seat of running your business. And again, we talked about that communication before and making sure that you're educating your staff. This is the pathway that we need to go down. So I think, you want to be sure that your goals and objectives are realistic too. So again, I've seen it where people have put some unrealistic goals out and the staff haven't got that buy-in. So again, my advice on that is, if you're struggling in that area, then seek some professional advice on how to trade out of this COVID so you don't make those irrational decisions. And I think if you have a team that is 100% on board with your goals and objectives, then you've got it made in trading out of what we're actually being in. And I think in that confidence, you need to be confident that your goals and objectives, you must execute. And one of the things I'm talking to a lot of clients about is set it up yourself, set it up with your team. So what I said before, what does success look like for you and your business? What does it look like for your staff? Get them all on board, and don't look in the rear vision mirror, because the mirror in the rear vision mirror is smaller than the window in front of you, right? So just keep moving forward. I can't push that enough. So my topic six is about, ways to engage your staff for better outcomes. And again, this is what I'm all about, and our HR advisors, we're all behind this, about that employee engagement, of understanding the power of collaboration. So I think one thing COVID's done is it's shown us how it has shown us, by collaborating, you actually become more powerful in the way that you actually do business. So again, getting the team on board, and it's been, you talked about before, Mark, Zoom meetings every morning and stuff like that. So how many companies you and I have gone into where they have a meeting once a week or once a fortnight or once a month? But like, because we're all working remotely, we're now trying to have more touch points and more smaller and quicker meetings. And I think what's come out of that is that definitely that motivation. And I think every business, we all love our referrals. So we live by our referrals. So by collaborating your businesses and other services together, we'll create better outcomes. And I think one of the things that has really stood out to me, if I can say it, is I think, Mark, we're probably more closer now than we've ever had in helping businesses, and not just us. We work with other organisations, in local, the local in the council of the City of Moonee Valley, like BSO Digital. Like, we're all collaborating together to try and have the outcome for our clients of what they actually need. And I can't tell you how proud I am and how happy I am that just the dynamics between some of the projects that we've done together as a group in marketing and HR and finance with MKS Group, and that has just been absolutely fantastic. So I think it's all taught us that you might look at another company and see, well, they might take my client, or that could be competition. But in stressful times that we're in, I think it's, for the companies that have collaborated really, really well together, and that's actually been initiated by the City of Moonee Valley, which I think is really, really good. I think that's really shown us that, if you can collaborate together, like visual, and I've done some work with Visual Productions as well, which are up in Keilor Road. It just shows that the power of local community and what you can do. Because I think that's been a big win for KBA in our business and our clients, who we've shared with some of the companies that I've just talked about. And I think sometimes we share some best practice methods with one another, helps everyone. And I'm going to use the word, even if there's no financial gain. So I think that's one of the things, Mark, that we bounce ideas with one another. And we've helped clients. We've helped a lot of clients who are in trouble, and not everything has been charged for, because we're just trying to help people, get back on track. And I think that's been really evident of just good business collaboration of what's happened within the City of Moonee Valley. And I think being in business, especially during COVID-19, has not been easy. But by collaborating with other like-minded businesses, has helped with that mental toughness. So I made a comment before that, sometimes I've driven home and I've been on top of the world, and other times I've gone home and I've been a mess, right? But that's the roller coaster ride we live in the way that we run our businesses. So I think, what builds motivation, and and again, some of the communication that I've been talking to companies about is, don't talk about the word change. We need to change this, we need to change that. The staff hate change. Let's use the word, let's create a project. We need to do a project. This is our marketing project. This is our CRM project of what we need to do, and just get some staff to collaborate and work together. So, as I said, many staff hate the word change, and we've all certainly had to do some change during this COVID-19. But I truly believe if you create some projects, and to me, a project has a start date and a finish date, then this creates more of a focus and a motivation point for your business. And projects can be small or large, right? But one thing we cannot do is let them drag out. So, in a conversation I had with a client before, they've had this project, but there's no end date. So therefore, staff are not motivated with it. So again, sometimes you need to cut things into baby steps and have, maybe rather than one big project, what is like half a dozen small projects with a start and finish, and then make sure that you're celebrating those little milestones. Projects can involve people from different departments, which creates that better employee engagement. And we've rebuilt our CRM and reporting system. And two of my staff members, a brand new staff member that's only been with my business for 5 minutes, and my marketing person, Smaritha. So Sarah and Smaritha have done a project for Lorraine and I, and it's just been such a great project for our whole business of real lifetime reporting, better than we've ever had it. So I think, again, that's important. And my HR team, some of the project they've worked on with clients, together in collaboration. So there's none of this is my client or this is your client. It's our client, and let's do the best we can. So again, I can't echo that enough. It creates better motivation. And those projects can involve an inside person or an outside person to come in and ensure that the projects are completed. And I think what's important is, that outside expertise can sometimes help you finish those projects or get the message across. And I live a life by working with other businesses doing that every day. I'd love to know if there's any questions or any feedback on what I've just gone through based on that, because I think it's really important. The importance of recognition and praise, we hear it all the time, and I think that it's just demonstrates today just how appreciative you need to be for your staff who are performing for you in the business. And we've done several webinars on what to do if staff are not performing. So you can go back onto our website and have a look at those webinars. But right now, if you've got that recognition and praise, it builds confidence, it demonstrates you care, it shows you've taken interest, it demonstrates that you believe in your staff. And right now, when everyone had to work from home, there was this big trust factor a lot of business owners have. If you've got the projects and you're creating those meetings like Mark said, then you should have no doubt that your guys are working for you, your team's working for you. And to me, that's about that leadership and mentorship. If staff feel appreciated, they'll be more loyal to your brand. And again, during this COVID-19, we have seen companies where staff have not been loyal to the brand and they've checked out, which has put more stress on the owner. And vice versa, we've seen the reverse where staff have stepped up and are just absolutely doing what they can to keep that business going. So I think if you've got that motivation, that recognition and praise, it keeps people engaged and focused to do an even better next time, always trying to improve. So I can't push enough during this pandemic, showing appreciation with the way your staff have responded in adversity, and it definitely needs to be acknowledged. And I know, Mark, you've sent out breakfast to your team, food packs. We've done flowers, balloons. We've got candles going out. So we're always doing stuff to try and keep the staff going. So I think that's really important. I do have a question here. No, it's not a question. It's one of the panelists saying, can we get some more questions coming in, because they're hoping that people on this webinar can give some more questions. Okay, so let us help you with dealing some of the mental toughness, and this is a bit of a collaboration between to myself and Mark. I think Mark, and we'll just have this two-way conversation. I can't put my video on because my voice starts breaking up on the webinar, but to me, the importance of having a plan just gives you that pathway to follow. And I know that you're really big on, what does that 30, 60, 90 day plan look like? You work very strongly with that. I like doing strategic plans. You like to do those 90-day plans. It all works together, but anything else you want to add to that?
Absolutely. A lot of people at the moment are fearing the unknown, and it's the fear of the unknown that can mess around with the way we're thinking and the way we're managing our business, and not to mention the impact it can have on the decisions that we make for our business. And people that have been on my webinars before would have heard me say this, and my team have heard me say it a million times, and so have my clients. You cannot manage something that you cannot measure. Now, unless you're planning, unless you're budgeting, unless you're doing forecasts, you can't measure the performance of your business unless you're doing that. So it is critical to be able to measure so that you can manage. And if you know that something is manageable, at the end of the day, we can't stress over something we've got no control over, okay? But if we've got no control over being closed and our business is shut and we can't do anything about it, it's something that I know it gives us angst, but it's not something that we can control, right? But we can try and make things better in our minds so as that we know what is going to be the outcome going forward. So if we've got a plan, if we've got a budget, we've got something to achieve to, we've got something to work towards. If we don't have any of that, we've got nothing to measure. And your next point there about staying focused, you really, really need to stay focused on where your business is heading in the next 30, 60, 90 days. That is the critical point. 90 days is going to take us to Christmas. Oh my God, when we think about Christmas, it just feels like yesterday, but it's coming again. And I heard on the news today that the Maya windows are actually happening now. But anyway, side point. 90 days ahead of us. We've hopefully, our lockdown is going to end very soon. We're all going to get back to our COVID normal, whatever that's going to look like. And we start to relax in our minds where we're going. But if you've got a messed up mind, you're going to have messed up decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mark,
And I
one of the things that
know
I
we
talk
need to
about,
work on that.
yeah, one of the
Sorry,
things I
Phil.
talk about to our clients is that strategic intent, and then you drift, right?
Yeah.
And we had this intention, this is where we want to go, but then you drift. And I think that's that focus that we talk about. And I think my next point down there is that if you are actually you've got a plan, it shows your staff that you're in control of your business. Now, there's been a hell of a lot of staff in companies where they haven't had that leadership and that plan, where staff have gone, I'm checking out because I don't think this business is going anywhere. So I can't push that hard enough that it is important that you've got a plan and you share that, communicate. These are our goals and objectives. And I think it holds you and your team accountable, right, of what you need to do. And I can't, again, you can hear it in my voice that it is a good feeling, so I like to walk, so I go home, Lorraine and I would go for a walk around Strathmore in walking the dog, and what runs through my head is the plan, we're executing it, the team are 100% on board. If there's any uncertainty, I want them to talk to me and I want to know. So I think it's really important, you have a plan in place, it holds you accountable as the business owner, but it also helps your staff to hold you accountable as well, and you can hold them accountable, which I think is important.
Yeah.
And
Accountability.
again,
Yeah, I was going to say accountability and planning are probably the most critical things in running a business. Yeah, accountability in the sense that you know that you're in control of the decision you're making, and when you're making that decision, you need to be in full control. And planning,
yep.
look, those that know me well know that I'm probably 2 weeks away from getting my pilot's license to fly a plane, which I've been working on for quite a while. And having a checklist, which I've pre-flighted an aeroplane probably, I don't know, maybe 80 times. And I've got a checklist that I follow that we have to follow. It's almost mandatory by CASA, our regulator, that we have to follow a checklist. If you don't follow that, you miss something. And if you miss one critical thing, I could end up like that unfortunate accident at DFO a couple of years ago. And that happened because the pilot did not have a checklist. There was no checklist in that aircraft, right? So the pilot did not have a checklist to follow. He failed to use the checklist. He failed to check one item on the aircraft, and that caused a crash. Yeah. So if you check everything that's on that checklist, you are going to have a safe flight. If you've got a checklist for your business and a plan for your business, you're going to have a steady business.
I think also, Mark, I think we're all tired. All of us business owners and our staff, right? We're all tired. We've had no holidays. We're working through. We're trying to do it. Even for those that are stuck at home, they're tired because they can't get out and can't relax. But one thing I will tell you is having a good plan builds motivation and gets that adrenaline and gets that adrenaline going, that that you can put a plan in place. So if you want anything like additional bank loans or finances, then you've got a plan for that. And you talked about before redoing your finance and reinvesting, right? So that's part of your plan. That's part of your plan of what you need to do. I truly believe that I talked about best practice before. Get the best practice methods back into your business because it's going to help you get back on track. The importance of always, I want to talk about the importance of showcasing your business. And for me, that's one thing I think, both of our businesses, and you see lots of other businesses out there, we've really showcased our business. And that's how we've onboarded so many people to come, been power of attraction to us. By showcasing your business, it keeps your business out in the market and consistent with your branding. I think it demonstrates you're in business and you're doing exciting things, refreshes your business, and let people know what you're doing. It shows that you're proud and you're passionate. And I think people may not know that you offer a service or a product or the hours you're open or trading. So, you've got to educate them, which will create more revenue opportunities. And I think motivation, we talked about it, by showcasing your business, and we're starting, showcasing your team, showcasing what you're doing, it keeps you and your team motivated, that you're at least trying to give it your best shot.
Yeah,
And
exactly
I
what I
always
said
talk
before about the marketing,
yeah,
Scott. It's the same as what I said before about that real estate agent who, hadn't actually told their customers they're still in business. Yeah, you need to
yeah,
be out there showcasing. They need to know that when we open up again, you're in the forefront of their mind, and you're the one they're going to come and talk to.
yeah, I agree. Last thing I want to finish off with before we sort of wrap this webinar up is that importance of reaching out for people to get to help you get through some of these tough times. And I think, you know what, we're all in business together. Mark, as business advisors, we're certainly here to help anyone that needs help. And I think, the Moonee Valley initiatives and programs, that have been going to help local business have been fantastic. And I mentioned before that, not everyone got it, but that's part of business, and you've got to get on with it. And they're trying. But I think, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and we've all got to see that light at the end of the tunnel. And yes, we're waiting on Dan to open up this goddamn 5K radius so we can get out and see people. We want to travel interstate and get to Queensland for some warmer weather. But we've got to see that light at the end of the tunnel. And my grandfather was in business for a long time, and one of the things he used to always say is never bad for too long, right? So you've got to have that mindset. So you need to look at better ways of building that resilience, right? That and is it build resilience or deal with resilience? You've got to just have that, resilience. And I'm going to say it, if you're struggling with some mental health issues or anything like that, you just got to seek that support immediately. And I think last but not least is having those goals and objectives will definitely help you stay motivated and focused on what you need to do with your business. So Mark, I've really enjoyed this webinar. I've got a couple of things that we're going to go through, but when Craig said to us, Colin, we've done some webinars with you, we've done some webinars with MKS, I've seen you and Mark do a couple of webinars together. I really want you guys to develop something together. I'm really proud of what we achieved today, but just want to know if there's any other questions that are out there. And I think what's important right now is just, what can we do to help? So if you are got staff returning to the office after COVID-19, there's some checklists on our website. You can go to MKS's website, you can go to our website. We're here to help, we're here to support. If there's any questions, please, and we do have a question here, Mark. I'm just going to ask, does the GST turnover include any grants received or JobKeeper reimbursements?
No, absolutely not. Really, really good. That's good. Very good question. You do not include JobKeeper received or any of the government grants. It's the turnover of your business that is being measured. It's not the subsidies or support you've been offered. Okay, that is important. And the other important thing to note is that it's the net of GST turnover. So when we talk about GST turnover, we're talking about the amount of turnover that you're declaring on your BAS, yeah, which is your GST turnover. Yeah. Now you can have the option, if you're on the accruals basis, you can have the option of going on the cash or the accrual, whichever is going to give you the best result. But the important thing is that we make sure that it's the right turnover.
Yeah.
Good question.
So Mark, if people want to find you, this is your website, phone number.
Yep.
This is our website and phone number. We're here to help, and we're definitely here to support our local businesses. It's easier travel for us when we were able to get out and see people face to face. So it's better.
Looking forward
Anyone
to that.
can book a free chat if they want. With me, through we have a calendar on our website. Mark, they can ring your number and reach out to yourself and team. I just want to finish off with our next webinar is coming up. We're going to talk about recruitment induction, because I think as people come out of this COVID-19 and start to get things back, they want to start employing people. I know there's been a lot of staff that's been laid off. Have you got any webinars coming up yourself, Mark, in the near future?
Nothing planned at the moment. There will be one coming up post-budget. So that we'll have the budget one. We'll be certainly publishing that on our website and on the socials, as we always do. So look out for that. It'll be a good rundown, and hoping and praying that we're going to get some more stimulus from the government in any way, shape or form, whether it's tax cuts or whether it's whatever it's going to be. But you know what, at the end of the day, we're going to be grateful for anything that we get. Another point that I didn't mention that I need to mention is the Council are currently working on helping businesses on footpath trading. So Moonee Valley Council are actually working very, very hard to help businesses that can do footpath trading, like hospitality. They're working very solidly so that is hopefully going to be ready as soon as our lockdown is over. So there's going to be ways that to happen with permits and so on. So I would be reaching out to the council for more information. There is information on their website, but that is a critical point that I'm sorry I neglected to mention earlier.
One of the things I talked to Craig about, Mark, was can we have a Queen's Park party? Can we just have one big party? Bring in a band, bring out the food. Can we just have an outdoor party, a bit of celebration for the residents and the businesses of the city of Moonee Valley? I know they put a questionnaire out, who would like to get a stand and stuff like that. So I think it's great. Mark,
Yeah,
I just got to
as long as
say
we're 1.5
that
meters.
1.5 meters away. I just got to say that we advertise this webinar from 4 to 5:30. And I think it's always a challenge when you and I do a webinar because we both love to talk. We're both very passionate about what we do, but we have absolutely nailed it from 4. It's now 5:30. It's time
Spot
out.
on.
So everyone on this webinar, we want to thank you so much for participating in this webinar. If there's anything that we haven't covered or some questions you want, please reach out to Mark or myself, MKS Group, or Key Business Advisors. We're here to help. And I just want to say thanks, Mark, for a great webinar, and really thank you very, very much for the City of Moonee Valley for believing in us and supporting us, because we're very grateful for the partnership and relationships that we've got. I think I've got
Thanks
one more
very
question
much,
just
everyone.
come through.
Yeah, well,
Just
thanks
got one more
everyone,
question
and
come through.
yep, fire away.
Yeah, someone's talking about the frustration of extended lockdown has made everyone tired and fed up. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
But it's starting to come through. What is your one-page plan? Someone's asked, Mark, what is your one-page plan?
Our one-page plan covers off on a number of things. You get to come out with your why, your purpose, you get some values in your business. We look at your budgets for the next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, and we look at the objectives that you need to set in your business and the critical success factors to achieve those. And out of the critical success factors comes KPIs, and KPIs are what you get measured against, yeah? And they're the things that we can manage. So all that gets done, it's generally a whole day, yeah? So it's between half to a whole day of work, best done on a face-to-face basis. I really, really believe that. However, if we're not permitted to do that, I'm more than happy to run it on a Zoom. Yep, we'll have our usual team. There's 2 or 3 of us that get involved in that, depending on how many you've got at your end. And yeah, we've done it with, we've had 8 people in the room doing it. So it's definitely a good question, and I urge you to get one done. If you haven't got a one-page plan, I urge you to do it.
I think at the end of the day, what the whole content of our webinar is about best practice. Make sure you're planned and organised. And I think, we'll leave everyone with this thought: who's holding you accountable to make sure that your business has best practice methods in your business? I think, I think that's important, and that can be our finishing message, Mark. And I want to say thanks very much. And again, thanks to the City of Moonee Valley, and that concludes our webinar, and we hope you loved it, and you can give us a rating at the end of this webinar of what you thought. So thanks very much, everyone. Enjoy the evening, and bring on daylight savings and bring on some outdoor activities, I say. Cheers.
All right, thanks everyone. Thanks, Colin.